Hello and welcome everyone to Last Level Press. I am Mr. Black and this is yet another Fallout New Vegas mod spotlight. It's been a while, hasn't it? I've kind of missed doing these. It's a bit of a coming full circle for the channel after so long. This time we are taking a look at the Goodsprings Prospector Shack Special Edition by WestEmperor, a mod author that you may recognize as having made the Wasteland Survival Hideout, which I also spotlit not terribly long ago. Now there is a lot, and I mean a lot, to cover with this player home. So I apologize if my commentary is a little bit scattered throughout this video. I really tried to come up with a concise way to cover all of the little details and handcrafted touches that went into this, and I couldn't really organize it. So I'm gonna have to more or less freeform this one. Now, before we even head inside, I want to cover some of the really nice little details on the outside of this. But before we even do that, come to think of it, I should note that this is, as with so many mods that I have covered, located in Sunny Goodsprings, Nevada, and comes complete with its own map marker. It is, for the sake of reference, on the south end of town, just across the way from Rancho Villa, if you should also possess that mod, and across from the Prospector Saloon. Now, before we lose daylight, I always like to record in this particular time of day for the nice lighting. Out here, there is sort of a little sitting area which actually looks quite lived in. A lot of this mod's features look very natural, as though someone were actually living here. And having the empty and used beer bottles out here, along with the bottle caps and the stew, overlooking the mountain range actually looks really good. And back here on the rear end is more or less just a scrap shelf. This being listed as a prospector shack is quite fitting, seeing as these more or less look like all the little bits of scrap and junk and detritus that an actual prospector would comb through and try to make something of. Now, over here is actually my favorite of the exterior touches of this mod. This may look familiar to those of you who have made so many characters like I have, and run through the tutorial bottle shooting run with Sunny, and this allows one to relive that little joy. And the best part is that it's not a one-time experience. If I could get to it, there is a reset switch right there, allowing one to continually reset these bottles. Although, I noticed one humorous little touch. The bullet holes stay on the bottles, so apparently these are some indestructible glass. Anyway, as we are losing light, I do believe it is time to find the entrance. You'll note that there is a note stuck to, yes, that got repetitive, deal with it, the front page here. That is one hell of a knife, and the owner must have been very strong, seeing as the knife is stuck into an iron pipe. The journal page reads, "Damn my bad luck. What the hell was I thinking, trying to help that caravan with all those escaped convicts crawling around? I should have known better. Anyway, I still think I would have gotten them if it wasn't for that frigging powder charge trap. My leg is busted pretty well, though, and I think that one of the powder gangers following that last merchant spotted me coming back to town. I doubt they'll try anything inside the town, but I need to take refuge anyway. I've hidden the key in the usual spot in the open dumpster behind the shack, and I'm heading for the old memorial. I should be safe there for a while." Now, those familiar with the Wasteland Survival Hideout may recognize a little bit of that. That was a similar note left near the opening of that home, which seems to have been sort of adopted to this one. And I will note a little bit of criticism there. Why on earth, if one is being pursued by bandits, would one then leave a note on one's own front door listing that one is, one, injured, and two, going to another place, essentially revealing where you can be found and tracked down and eventually killed? It just doesn't really fit, I think. I understand that it's more or less there to indicate to players where to find the key to this home, but in lore, it's a bit incongruous with sense. Anyway, as for the hiding place, it is, if I can ever open it, come on, there we are, inside of the lawnmower, back here in this dumpster. An actually really clever hiding place, and obviously a unique container to store it in. Anyway, moving inside, there is a lot to love in here. First off, let's get some lights on. And I'm more or less just going to make a circuit of the room, seeing as there are so many little details to cover. Just as with the survival bunker, the light by the side of the bed has a nice little semi-animated cover there by putting the rattan hat over it, something that I really like. And Again, with the lived-in touches, there is a throwing knife target board over here. Plenty of labeled storage throughout the home. So again, those of you who like to decide where to store your own items may be a little bit disappointed by that, but fortunately at the terminal there is a sorter, so that will save a bit of time for those lazy players like myself that don't want to take the time to go and sort hundreds of items into a bunch of different containers. Now, I will admit, my very favorite part of this entire mod is the aquarium. I am a sucker for a cool aquarium, and this is exactly that. It reminds me a bit of a mod that I actually had for Fallout 3 a long time ago that added a similar aquarium to the player house in Megaton. But I won't linger on that for too terribly long. It just adds a nice little unique touch to this living space. As I mentioned here at the the terminal, there is a sorter for each of the item types, and they will of course go into their respective containers throughout the home. And by the way, if any of you ever wondered, I believe this came up before, what my Courier 6's name is, there you are, Killian de Gabriel. And there is, although I cannot show it off right now, a shelf here for your snow globes, and they will actually line up rather nicely throughout that shelf. Over yonder way, let's turn off the radio so that it will, 1, not distract from me, and 2, not get me in trouble with copyright. Let's get to the fireplace, which doesn't seem to cast much light, although just like with, not Rancho Villa, one of Gary 62's other home mods, whose name is escaping me right now, but the inside of this fire actually looks really, really good. It actually looks quite realistic, so that and the fact that there's actually a stovepipe oven, the likes of which would be very easy to craft and actually very efficient for a home like this, again, just really illustrates a nice, nice touch. And another thing is the giant New Vegas sign here that has actually been scaled down, I believe, from the one that is actually standing outside of New Vegas proper, actually looks really good. It doesn't just look like a shrunken asset stapled to the wall. It actually looks like it belongs there, which does not escape me as something that is kind of difficult to pull off sometimes when it comes to resizing vanilla assets. Okay, now then, now that I've gotten through all of that, a few of the other features are a cooking range, which acts just like a campfire for all of your food crafting needs, and a couple of other nice little goodies. There is a water purifier here, allowing one to, I don't have any, purify dirty water, and a coffee brewer, which actually creates, I believe, a unique consumable that is black coffee. And the ingredients needed to create 1 or 2 samples of it are actually located right around here, so I'm going to do that for you all right now. It requires a coffee mug, 2 pinon nuts, and 1 sprig of coyote tobacco chew. Let us grab some of that. I just grabbed something I didn't need to, but oh well. Let's just grab a lot and make sure I have enough. Brew 1 mug of coffee. Now into the aids, here we are. And we have our very own cup of coyote black coffee. Provides 1 perception and 1 agility. Not at all game-breaking, just a really nice, flavorful little addition to this home. And moving into the bathroom, this is actually one of the more well-thought-out touches, I think. There is, of course, the lavatory, and right next to it, what looks to be a home garden with several crafting and food ingredients, as though whoever was living here was actually using more or less the refuse and compost from the waste disposal to fertilize their plants and their food, which would actually be a really good, efficient survival strategy in a limited environment like this. So a really well thought out little touch. And as with several other home mods, is there just an inside joke with home mod authors to leave a 357 Magnum in the tank of a toilet? Because I've seen several mod authors do this, and I'm not sure why. But anyway, over here next to the sink by the broken Gene Was Here mirror, at the straight razor, one can access the show race menu to recustomize their courier appearance, which is, again, a nice little touch that seems to be more of a standard trend in a lot of player home mods that I am quite welcome to seeing here as well. And fortunately, that's not all. There's even more to this mod, but before I head downstairs, one quick little bit of criticism that I might offer. This space is a little bit on the dark side, and that is because I am running an ENB and Fallout, so sometimes dark spaces tend to be even darker than vanilla game would be, and if I recall correctly, the screenshots of this player home on the mod page itself looked as though they were recorded from a vanilla game. So I might simply encourage, if there are any updates planned for this mod in the future, for the author to include an optional ESP that affords somewhat brighter interior lighting in this upstairs space, so that those of us using other lighting mods can really get the most out of it. Now, that is not a problem downstairs in the Prospector's Shack cellar, where, again, little touches abound and go a long way. So, obviously, this is quite well lit, so the lighting is not an issue down here. And let's just follow a blood trail toward one of the other little details here. It looks as though someone were stumbling, bleeding, from the entrance, leaning upon the box, over to the My First Infirmary, where there are plenty of medical storage spaces, and also the fusion generator, which powers, or doesn't, all of the lights throughout this downstairs space, and even has its own little startup sound, which I believe may be custom. I don't actually recognize that sound from any of the vanilla game assets. There are, of course, crafting tables here. There is a reloading bench right next to My First Infirmary, and an actual crafting table across the room. And just like the coffee brewer upstairs, there is a moonshine distillery down here in the basement, which one can create moonshine with. If anyone else is getting flashbacks to Point Lookout, don't worry, you're not alone. And this, I think, is one of the more positive flashbacks one could have to that old DLC. Now, just as with before, let's actually throw one together so that we can have a look at exactly what these do. There we are. Oh wait, nope. Or not, because apparently I don't have a fission battery on my character at this point, and looking around, I can't find one here in the room. So, never mind. Just take my word for it. This thing makes moonshine. Moving on. Several more armor storage containers are located over here on this wall, as well as plenty of ammunition storage here. This is one of those that I am very glad for the sorter for, because otherwise there's no way that I, or I think many others, would go through the time to hand sort all of the various calibers of ammunition. As for the other storage crates here, they are all different designations of weaponry and mod kits, miscellaneous, energy, small, heavy, and melee. And moving on, I have to catch my breath with this place. There is the decontamination chamber, which, as those of you who have played the underground hideout may immediately be thinking, more or less works the same way. It allows one to remove radiation, and unfortunately it will not fully heal you, so you can't just get the group treatment. Hi, Farsight, what's up, buddy? But that's rather a moot point, seeing as there is a My First Infirmary just across the way, so you can fully heal yourself with the tools provided down here. Now, don't mind Farsight, he's just illustrating rather creepily at the moment that this place is entirely nav-meshed and companion adequate, seeing as he's hovering in the air. I won't exactly call that companion friendly, but he can exist in here and doesn't usually clip through walls. So even though this is a fairly small and cramped space, if you do want to bring companions with you, this mod will not hinder your ability to do so. Now, on the center table is another of the custom assets provided by this mod. Let's first read the note associated with it. There is the broken 44 snubby note. Now I know why that guy sold me this 44 snubby so cheap. It is beyond repair, or at least beyond my knowledge of repair. He said the gun was shot off the hands of a Gamora guard. Don't know how much of that is true, but what I do know is that the guy had a way with guns as he tinkered with it and managed to increase its damage. Well, I managed to get all the needed custom parts in place, but I still can't get it to work. I like a gun with a story. They sell better. But if I can't make it spit at least one bullet, it's worthless. Love that trying to spin off the Pawn Stars excuse there. Anyway, let's have a look at the snubby itself. It requires a repair skill of 25 or greater, and actually has a nice little model to it. It seems to be a cut-down version of the vanilla game 44 Magnum, and if I recall correctly, actually features, no, not a custom sound, I believe I may be misremembering that, but the texture does require one to also have Millennia's Weapon Retexture project for the sake of the 44 caliber Magnum textures at work here. So bear that in mind if you're going to get this home mod. And these textures, of course, being Millennia's work, make this little firearm look fantastic. And as I recall, this should have also been added to the appropriate holdouts and perk lists. So this isn't going to be one of those weapons that should get certain benefits but doesn't, like a few other weapon mods that I've stumbled across before. And I think, finally, that may well cover the Goodsprings Prospector Shack Special Edition. This has been quite an undertaking to attempt to comment on concisely, seeing as there are so many nice little details and thoughtful touches spread throughout this home. It feels very lived in, very natural, and really fits not only the Fallout New Vegas aesthetic, but also the Goodsprings aesthetic. It doesn't really stand out in a negative way in this town. Let me fast forward through time just a tad so that we can actually have a look around us. And I invite you to note just how little, in a good way, this home really stands out from the rest of Goodsprings. It doesn't. And that, I think, is a good thing, because it's those incongruous homes that don't really fit their surroundings that stand out like a sore thumb in a negative fashion from the entire game world. This doesn't have that problem and actually looks as though it belongs here. So I have a lot of praise for WestEmperor, this mod's creator, because this is, so far at least, the Emperor's crowning achievement. Seeing as I did again spotlight their Wasteland Survival hideout some time ago and offered a fair amount of criticism for that one, but I find myself unable to levy almost any criticism at this player home, short of the lighting. And even that is more or less just asking for further compatibility for those of us who run other mods, and not even a direct criticism of the mod itself. Run on a vanilla game, this would be an outstanding addition to any New Vegas player's game, and I encourage you all to go and find it, download it, endorse it. And now that I've gotten all of that out of the way and finally caught my breath, I am Mr. Black here at Last Level Press, and as always, I wish you all good gaming and Godspeed.